Thank you, Dr. Mania. At the outset, my sincere thanks to Team ILBS, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and AIMS Raipur for making me part of this ongoing series of NAFLD webinars. It's so nice to see Professor Nitin Nagarkar after so many years. I think it takes me 25 years back, 96, 97, when we were together at GMCH Chandigarh. Very nice to see you, though virtually, but very nice. Yeah. So the job I have been assigned is to, take you through the evidence which is there connecting fatty liver disease with, various non-communicable diseases. I think till now, I'm pretty sure that you have understood that fatty liver disease is part and parcel of a multi-system disease. When I say that, it means that metabolic risk factors or metabolic syndrome can involve different organs. We know it does involve heart, it involves kidneys, your blood vessels. Similarly, the liver also gets involved in metabolic syndrome, and people call it as a hepatic manifestation of metabolic syndrome. So NAFLD is nothing but a hepatic manifestation of metabolic syndrome. So people with metabolic syndrome, when they have fatty liver disease, we call it as metabolic steatosis, or we call it as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Obviously, you need to exclude other causes of fatty liver, including alcohol, viruses, drugs, and so many other things. So because of that, the fatty liver disease has been shown to be associated with a lot of extrahepatic diseases. So important amongst those are, the same metabolic risk factors like diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, obesity, but also with, polycystic ovarian disease, osteoporosis, and hepatic and extrahepatic malignancies. So my job today or next, 20-25 minutes, so what I'll show you is the relationship between, or the evidence for the relationship between the fatty liver and important non-communicable diseases like obesity, diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, cardiovascular disease, chronic kidney disease, hepatic and extrahepatic malignancies. And as I said, we now consider NAFLD as a hepatic manifestation of your metabolic syndrome. But what I will also show you some data that there is something known as bidirectional link, which links this metabolic syndrome and fatty liver disease. So what do you mean by this? This means that patients with metabolic syndrome or metabolic risk factors, say obesity, diabetes, they obviously are at an increased risk of having fatty liver disease. But if you start with only fatty liver, no metabolic risk factors, over a long term, maybe 10 years, 20 years, you are at a risk of developing metabolic risk factors, like you are at a risk of developing diabetes, you are at a risk of developing hypertension, and I'll show you, some data on this. So this is what we call it as a bidirectional link. Third important thing what we need to understand is that all fatty liver disease are not same. Some patients can have only fat in the liver, others can have inflammation, others can have inflammation with fibrosis, what we call it as NASH. These can progress on to cirrhosis. Some can even go on to develop liver cancer. So there is a wide spectrum of fatty liver disease. Now, what determines the severity of this fatty liver disease? Again, there are lots of factors, but I'll show you data that metabolic risk factors are very important, determinants of the severity of fatty liver disease. If you have metabolic syndrome or metabolic risk factors, your risk of having severe fatty liver disease, that is NASH, NASH with fibrosis, cirrhosis, liver cancer, everything goes up. And lastly, I'll show you some data on the risk of fatty liver disease, causing the increased risk of cardiovascular disease, chronic kidney disease, and as I said, hepatic and extrahepatic malignancies. And mind it, this all can happen independent of metabolic risk factors. So fatty liver disease per se can put you at a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, chronic kidney disease, and various malignancies. I'll show you some data on that. So let me first start with the association of NAFLD with metabolic syndrome. What kind of evidence do we have? Again, there are large, kinds of studies which are available. I've just picked up one, this large study, so-called the Rotterdam study, around 3,000 participants and one-third of them having fatty liver disease. Now, of those who were found to have fatty liver disease or NAFLD, what were the risk factors or what was it associated with? And as I said, I think these are all metabolic risk factors and nothing else. If somebody is centrally obese, which is determined by your waist circumference, right? So if somebody is centrally obese, you are at a 5 times higher risk of, having fatty liver disease in comparison to somebody who is not centrally obese. Similarly, if you are diabetic, 2 times the risk. If you are hypertensive, around maybe 2 times the risk. If you are dyslipidemic, 1.5 times the risk. So I think there are lots of studies like this which have very clearly shown that if you have these metabolic risk factors, your odds of having fatty liver disease definitely go up. This is our own data from Chandigarh. We did, I think, a couple of years back, and we screened around 1,000 blood donors with their liver functions, their lipid profile, and simultaneously doing their anthropometry, and also we did their ultrasound abdomen. And to our surprise, 53.5% of these blood donors, healthy blood donors, so-called healthy blood donors without any symptomatology, were found to have fatty liver disease. Now, figures like these are very, very alarming, and this varies from area to area. Punjab, Chandigarh, being a hub of all these metabolic abnormalities, diabetes, obesity. So that is why the fatty liver disease varies from within this vast country of India. There could be some pockets which could have a smaller prevalence to prevalence as high as this. And even in our patients, when we looked at the risk factors, they were nothing but they were all metabolic risk factors. Look at this: BMI, waist circumference, hypertension, cholesterol, metabolic syndrome. They were all independent, predictors of NAFLD. So again, the point I'm trying to stress is that these are, very closely associated metabolic risk factors and fatty liver disease. Now let's go on to the second aspect, that what is the prevalence of NAFLD in patients with metabolic syndrome. So again, I think for the sake of time, I think I'm not showing you individual studies. I picked up this very large meta-analysis done by Professor Zubair Yunusi from US, 80 studies, 20 countries, and around 50,000 individuals with type 2 diabetes, 50,000. And we know that the global prevalence of fatty liver disease is close to 25 to 30%. But in the diabetics, when they looked at the prevalence, the global prevalence was around 55%. And it varied, in the Europe, it was close to even 68%. So, so if you are at a high, have these metabolic risk factors, whether it is diabetes or hypertension or, obesity, I think your risk of having fatty liver disease does go up. And more the, components of metabolic risk factors you have, more is the risk of fatty liver disease. Similar data has come from India, down south from Chennai, Dr. V. Mohan's group. Again, they looked at this around 500 subjects, one-third of them having fatty liver disease, and when they divided between those with diabetes and without diabetes, look at the figures. Diabetics, 55%. Non-diabetics or normoglycemic people, 22%. I think very clearly shows that if you have diabetes, if you have metabolic risk factors, your risk definitely goes up. I have picked up another, study from Punjab, again from Medical College, where, they just looked at, people divided them into those with metabolic syndrome and without metabolic syndrome. Very simple study. And they looked at on ultrasound the fatty liver. Look at this. Those with metabolic syndrome, prevalence of fatty liver disease 73% in comparison to 38% those who did not have. Very clearly shows that these are very, very closely associated. Now let's look at from another angle. What is the prevalence of metabolic risk factors in those with fatty liver? As hepatologists, people come to our clinic, liver clinic, with incidental detection of fatty liver, because in the initial stages of fatty liver, these patients will not have any symptoms, or they will come to you with incidental detection of rise in transaminases, liver enzymes. AST, ALT has gone up. And during the workup, when the ultrasound is done, they are found to have fatty liver. So I'm just again showing you one large data from this country. We have a consortium in India called Indian Consortium on Non-Alcoholic Fatty Liver Disease. In short, we call it as ICON-D. So there are 40 centers all over the country who are participating in this ongoing study, and this was our interim analysis which we had done at 1.5 years of the study, and this we presented in the Asia Pacific meeting this year, around 4,000 patients. The point I'm trying to show is that, I mean, look at the metabolic risk factors. But for around 11% of the patients, those who were so-called lean, which means normal BMI, rest 90% were either overweight or obese. And when we looked at the metabolic syndrome or metabolic risk factors in them, 43% of them had metabolic syndrome, and at least one metabolic risk factor was present in 93%. And the commonest was, the central obesity, which was present in around 84% of these patients. So I think again telling us that, I mean, even if you take patients with fatty liver disease and look at, the metabolic risk factors in them, I think majority of them would have that. Now, as I said about the bidirectional link. Bidirectional link means that today you start with just fat in the liver, and there is no metabolic risk factor. What happens over a period of time? Are they at an increased risk of developing metabolic dysfunction? The answer is yes. So now what is the data on this? I'll show you this most quoted study, a little oldish, but then around 130 biopsy proven patients with fatty liver, mean follow-up of 13 years. And what they shown very clearly, when they started the study with fatty liver disease, so-called patients with NASH, and NAFLD in general and NASH in particular. So what they found, only 8.5% of these patients had type 2 diabetes. But at the end of follow-up of 13 years, look at the figures. 78% of these patients either had, type 2 diabetes or had, impaired glucose tolerance. Thereby, telling us that even if you just start with fat in the liver, you are at a higher risk of, developing metabolic dysfunction on a long-term basis. Again, there are a large number of studies which have shown this. NAFLD with incident occurrence of, type 2 diabetes over a variable period of follow-up, 5 years to maybe 13 years. This study I've already shown you that if you start with fatty liver, you are at a higher risk of developing, type 2 diabetes over a period of long time. If you start with fatty liver, you are at a higher risk of developing incident hypertension over a period of long time. Again, there are a lot many studies. I can't go into the details, but this meta-analysis again I have picked up. Again, a very large number, around 170,000 participants, 20 studies, median follow-up of around 5 years. And when they followed these patients with NAFLD over a period of time, and if you look at the relative risk of developing type 2 diabetes in them, it was 2 times. And again, the risk of developing metabolic syndrome over a period of 5 years was again around 1.8 or 2 times. So thereby again telling us that even if you just start with fatty liver, over a period of time, I think you are at a risk of developing diabetes and metabolic syndrome. The point which Professor Sareen had highlighted earlier, that diabetes is now considered as a liver disease rather than a pancreatic disease. Now, how this happens, maybe I'll show you something on the pathogenesis also. But before that, as I said earlier, that presence of metabolic risk factors are very important in determining the severity of fatty liver disease. All fatty liver disease, as I said, are not same. A young boy, 20 years old, with fatty liver disease is entirely different from a postmenopausal lady who's 60 years old with fatty liver disease. That lady could be a cirrhotic, whereas 20 years boy may turn out to be having only NAFL, or what we call simple steatosis, no inflammation, no fibrosis. So as I said, what determines? Again, I think there's role of metabolic risk factors, and I'm showing you the same, meta-analysis where they had shown that within the diabetics, when they looked at, NASH, it was 37%. The global prevalence of NASH, which I said is a severe form of fatty liver disease, is around, 10-15%. But then in the diabetics, it was 37%. Similarly, if you look at the advanced fibrosis, it was 17%. So I think that clearly shows that if you are diabetic or if you have metabolic syndrome, you are likely to have, severe form of fatty liver disease. Again, there are large number of studies. I can't show you again individual data, but if you look at the, fibrosis is the important determinant of fatty liver disease in particular and liver disease in general. But then if you look at, the risk factors for the progression of fibrosis, they are nothing in NASH. They are all metabolic risk factors. Look at this: diabetes, obesity, LDL, hypertension, insulin resistance, again diabetes, hypertension. So I think all these are, risk factors for, future progression of the disease. And I'm again quoting this very nice study from the Baylor School of, Medicine, US, Dr. Fasia Kamal's group, where they are very clearly shown they are taken patients with fatty liver, that who are the patients who are likely to develop cirrhosis and liver cancer within the patients with fatty liver disease. And look at this: the metabolic risk factors, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and dyslipidemia. If you have that, your risk of having HCC or liver cancer is 6 times higher. And if risk of having, cirrhosis is 2.5 times higher. So again, thereby saying that these metabolic risk factors are very, very important in determining the severity of, fatty liver disease within the spectrum of, NAFLD. Now, how are this, as I said, there's a, why I'm saying there's a bidirectional link, and how is one leading on to the other? Maybe briefly, I thought there would be some physicians here in the audience. Let me just tell that when we talk about fatty liver disease, there are 3 sources of fat in the liver. The major source comes from, the adipose tissue. We know that the adipose tissue is the seat or of, storage of, fat, right? But when when it gets full, and there is an insulin resistance which happens with obesity, the insulin is not able to keep this fat in the adipose tissue, which is the normal function of insulin. So what you have is what we call the increased lipolysis from the adipose tissue, and increased delivery of free fatty acids from the adipose tissue. They go to the liver. So that is the major source of, free fatty acids from the, adipose tissue into the liver, because of insulin resistance which is happening at the adipose tissue level. In addition, there's something known as de novo lipogenesis, which means there's a fat synthesis within the liver which is also happening. And the third source is your dietary source, which is also contributing to your fat in the liver. Now, once you have fat in the liver, there's a deposition of fat. This leads on to, various changes at the insulin receptor levels, and leads on to insulin resistance within the liver. We call it as hepatic insulin resistance. So once you have the hepatic insulin resistance, the normal function of, insulin in the liver is to inhibit the glucose production in the liver, right? So now there's insulin resistance in the liver. So the insulin is not able to inhibit the glucose production, and that increased glucose production, which is happening because of, insulin resistance, now comes in the circulation. So you have hyperglycemia. In addition, there is also increased glycogenolysis. Also, the glycogen storage also comes down. This all contributes to, hyperglycemia, which secondarily leads to hyperinsulinemia, increased load on the pancreas, and ultimately, pancreas gives way, and that leads on to, type 2 diabetes. And this hyperglycemia and hyperinsulinemia also damages your vessels, leading on to premature atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease, and as I said, increase, dyslipidemia, and, the damage to various organs, including your kidneys and heart. This is, in a nutshell, the pathogenesis or the link between the two. So now briefly, I'll show you some data about the association with cardiovascular disease, chronic kidney disease, and malignancies and fatty liver disease. So again, time doesn't permit me to get into the details, but let me again tell the audience that if you are asked that what is the most common cause of death in a patient with NAFLD or fatty liver disease, it is not liver disease. The most common cause of death in patients with NAFLD is cardiovascular disease. The second most common cause of death is malignancy. Liver comes at a third position. So which actually tells us that the cardiovascular disease and NAFLD are very closely associated. And this association is in the form of, anatomical association. It can lead on to, deposition of fat in the myocardium, in the epicardium, can lead on to calcium deposition in the coronary arteries, can lead on to subclinical atherosclerosis, which I said, can lead on to arterial stiffness, aortic valve sclerosis. So all these, anatomical changes can lead on to the physiological changes in the heart, which leading on to, abnormalities in myocardial metabolism, cardiac arrhythmias, LV systolic and diastolic dysfunction, and, prolonged QTc interval, atrial fibrillation. And all this, as I said, can happen independent of, metabolic risk factors. So, all this, there are lot many studies which have actually looked into this. Again, for the sake of time, I have picked up this very large meta-analysis. 16 studies and 34,000 individuals, one third of them having fatty liver disease. And they looked at the fatal cardiovascular events and non-fatal cardiovascular events. And if you look at the diamonds, they are all favoring towards, NAFLD. And within the NAFLD, it is the NASH and the NASH with fibrosis, which puts you at a risk of, having both fatal and non-fatal, cardiovascular events. And similar kind of data is available for, chronic kidney disease. Again, this is one meta-analysis of 63,000 participants, 33 studies, and NAFLD is associated with both prevalent and incident risk of, if you look at the odds ratio or the hazard ratio, for around 2 times with, chronic kidney disease. And it is more so with NASH and advanced fibrosis, which means if you have a severe form of fatty liver disease, your risk of having chronic kidney disease, your risk of having cardiovascular disease goes up. So within the fatty liver disease, also it is the severe form of fatty liver disease, which indirectly, as I said, is determined by metabolic risk factors, ultimately determines your risk of cardiovascular and chronic kidney disease. This is our own work. I think again 2-3 years back we had done 100 patients of NAFLD we had taken, and we looked at the renal functions, determined their GFRs, looked at the macro and the microproteinuria in them, and we found that 1/3 of our patients had asymptomatic impairment of their renal functions. And again, when we looked at the risk factors, other than the type 2 diabetes, I think the race transaminases and the fibrosis on FibroScan, which is a marker of severity, they were independent predictors for causing impaired renal function. Indirectly, again, telling us that it is the severe form of fatty liver disease which is responsible for causing the systemic effects of cardiovascular and chronic kidney disease. Lastly, as I said, the fatty liver disease is associated with, no doubt, with the hepatic malignancy, and this is again our large recent data of around 800 patients with liver cancer, and where we had shown that over a period of 9 years, fatty liver disease as a cause of HCC has gone up. And today, I think of all the patients with HCC or liver cancer, what we see at PGI, around 20% of them are constituted by, NASH or fatty liver disease. So this figure over the years is going up. The hepatitis B and C is, coming down, and the alcohol and the fatty liver both are, going up. And in addition, the fatty liver disease, in addition to the liver cancer, is also associated with various extrahepatic cancers. And again, I picked up this meta-analysis, very large number, 10 cohort studies, 180,000 individuals, and a median period of around maybe 6 years. And around there were 8,500 cases of extrahepatic cancers at different sites. And look at this, they showed that NAFLD was associated with 1.5 to 2 times increased risk of all GI malignancies, may it be esophagus, stomach, pancreas, or colorectal, and 1.2 to 1.5 times increased risk of lung, breast, gynecological, and even urinary system cancers, and all, as I said, independent of diabetes and other potential confounders. So I think the kind of milieu these patients have, kind of environment these patients have, are putting them at a risk of both hepatic and the extrahepatic malignancies. But the good news is that all this is modifiable. Your overall mortality, your cardiovascular mortality, if you keep your health metrics, good, and this is one very good study which has actually shown that if you have good ideal health metrics, which means your body mass index is good, your physical activity is good, your glycemic control is good, your blood pressure is controlled, and if you have fatty liver disease, you are at a lower risk of all cause and cardiovascular related mortality, which actually tells us that all this, your mortality overall or cardiovascular disease is preventable if you are able to control your metabolic risk factors under control. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me summarize, which I said in last 25 minutes or so, that NAFLD, no doubt, is now considered as a multi-system disease, or is considered as a component or a part of multi-system disease, and it has a lot of extrahepatic associations, and important ones are the various non-communicable diseases. And what I showed you is the data on the relationship between the NAFLD and various metabolic risk factors like diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia. And I also showed you that this relationship is bidirectional. Bidirectional means that there's increased risk of NAFLD in those with metabolic syndrome, but also if you start with fatty liver alone without metabolic risk factors, you are at a long-term risk of developing diabetes and other components of metabolic syndrome. I also showed you data that metabolic risk factors are very important in determining the severity of NAFLD. All fatty liver disease are not same, and fatty liver and metabolic risk factors, if you are at increased risk of having NASH with fibrosis, cirrhosis, and liver cancer. Also, I showed you some data about its relationship with cardiovascular disease, CKD, and various malignancies, both hepatic and extrahepatic, and all these can happen independent of various metabolic risk factors. But the good news which I showed you is that these are all preventable. I think if you control the metabolic risk factors, you can control the disease, not only the disease, but you can also prevent, the all cause and the cardiovascular mortality in these patients. Overall, these presence of these metabolic risk factors does have bearing on the management of these patients. Time doesn't permit me to get into the details, but we can take some questions on that during the discussion time. And thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.